That's the governorship candidate of the APC. Well, we've since been joined by Ebumolu Adegborowa, who is a legal practitioner, and then GT also here, Channels TV's in-house election consultant. Well, Mr. Adegborowa, let me get your perspective on this one. I mean, he complaining of some of the things that happened in Akwa Ibom State, but calling for outright cancellation. The process that those who are aggrieved have to follow, still very much there, but they can speak up about what they think has gone wrong, because we even talked about the previous session, how that INEC, in some cases, they say they were investigating those matters, and then they went, they saw, and then they were able to verify that elections held, for instance, the presidential elections in Rivers, they subsequently declared the results. But with this case and some other cases, how do you suggest INEC handle it?
Well, in listening to the governorship candidate of the All Progressive Congress, one could not help but sympathize with such situations if indeed they are correct. He also observed that we listened earlier to the report of the incumbent governor, Mr. Goswe Akpabio, which is totally different from what we hear now. So we have two reports that are contrary to each other. He claimed that the incumbent governor said that elections held, but that there were two incidents in two local governments where there were some skirmishes. Whereas the governorship candidate of the APC says in all the 31 local government areas, elections did not hold because materials were diverted. So it's difficult as it is now to know which one is the true version. From this table, we cannot be judgmental. The thing is to give INEC the opportunity of investigating based on the report to be compiled by the resident Electoral Commission, who is the man on ground in Akwa Ibom State. And then they will take that report and be able to present it to the electoral body to take a decision as to whether to reschedule the election, whether to cancel the results, or to reschedule the entire election. Because you know this thing happened in Rivers State on March 28th, like you mentioned. All that we had was that there were no result sheets, election materials were not on ground. But of course, in addressing Nigerians, the INEC chairman said that a team was immediately dispatched to Rivers State, and they interviewed people. And they actually went to the scene of the event and confirmed that indeed election held. There may be some deviations here and there in terms of substitution of electoral officials, but that as far as they were concerned, there was substantial compliance with the guidelines for that particular election.
What are your thoughts, GT? You are an expert also in litigation issues and electoral allegations that can be taken to the tribunals. You've seen quite a number of them. It's not the first time that we're having a situation where reports differ between political parties. What's your immediate thoughts? What line of action do you see this going?
You know, this a situation that we're witnessing today, at least from the account of the candidate of the APC, who categorically declared, I didn't vote. Not because my party had declared that we are going to boycott the election, but I couldn't vote because those who ought to conduct the election weren't available. And from the account of the former governor, who also said, I couldn't vote because of the fact that materials weren't available, because those who were going to conduct the election said that materials were seized from them. If you take their testimony with a pinch of the salt, as indeed we should take their testimony, and compare that testimony to what the governor has said earlier today. Yes, my learned friend has said that we can't be judgmental, but we can be rational. We can infer, we can deduce for the purpose of this discussion. Not because we want to act as a court of law or an election tribunal, but because we are debating these matters as they are unfolding. And if you take this and marry it together with what occurred in Rivers State on March 20th, when the governor also said, look, this is what had happened, he called everybody, all his party people, and they said that they had that situation in their hand. You can't but be very, you can't but be filled with trepidation that this kind of thing is happening at all. Because what does the Electoral Act provide? The Electoral Act provides or envisages that there will be election. I have argued here repeatedly that, yes, the Electoral Act provides in Section 25 that INEC shall fix a date for any election. 26, INEC can postpone an election ahead of that date if there's a natural disaster or any emergency, and if there's a cogent and verifiable reason for the postponement of an election. Now, what we are witnessing is not the postponed election. It's not that we are witnessing an election that has been postponed. Now, the point is that that Electoral Act does provide in Section 138, subsection 1, grounds for invalidating the result of an election. But in a case where a party is saying, we have no election, so why am I even going to go to the tribunal to invalidate? So I'm saying that the Electoral does not sufficiently capture this kind of situation whereby you have wide-scale. Yes, one of the grounds is that, yes, there has been corruption in the election and that there has been non-compliance with the principles and provisions of the Electoral Act. Yes, that's one of the grounds. But I am saying that what that portion of the law envisages is a situation whereby, yes, you have an election and there are few corrupt practices that will be sufficient enough to nullify the election. But to then say that this kind of situation would then emerge is something that the Electoral Act has not really prepared for. And moving forward, I would say that when you have this kind of situation, it's very tough. And earlier, I was making that remark when Kimberly was interrogating me on the subject, that you had an INEC. On the March 28th election, which said, yes, we had this report that election didn't take place in Rivers State. And we sent a 3-man committee to investigate. And Professor Oyewo earlier said that what is an post facto investigation. That you talk to people and they say, yeah, we had an election. And you have results, so we believe that there's an election. And the INEC chairman then concluded and said, if you are not satisfied, take it further. My submission is that it was a very delicate election outcome management process. We had that situation. We had the Orubebe situation. And you are really expecting an INEC chairman to say that we have investigated and we realized the election didn't take place. We are going to cancel 1.4 million votes. Who was that INEC chairman that was going to say that in those circumstances, hey, let's be realistic here. And so these are the intricacies and complexities of election management. And so the law will say one thing, but you have a reality that defies the law, and you then expect the INEC to say, because the point is that once you have results, INEC may investigate anything. Once, by hook or crook, there are results that are written somewhere or done somewhere, the other party will say, INEC, you can't cancel anything anymore. You have to go to the tribunal.
Let me get the boom, because if they say there was no election
I just wanted
at all,
to make a point about, I listened to the governor of Lagos State, Mr. Babatunde Raji Fashola SAN, when he was being interviewed about situations, and he made a point that you make conclusions, you make observations based on facts, and those facts must not be isolated, they must be holistic. And you can't get those facts until after the event. That is, except you are in the same place at the same time. That's you are in 31 local governments of Akwa Ibom at the same time, which is not possible. It is after the events that you are able to get the versions of the various people who are in those various other places and then collate them. And then based on those facts that have been collated, a decision can be taken as to whether election took place or election did not take place, or whether it took place amidst violence, or